People power growth, but recruiting and onboarding are expensive, exhausting, and absolutely overwhelming. I've been there, and it doesn't have to be this way. Welcome to Hire and Empower. I'm your host, Molly McGrath. Join me as we interview leaders who care about their teams and distill powerful lessons from them. This show is sponsored by H&E, helping organizations to find their best hire and empower them for success. Learn more at hiringandempowering.com. All right, guys, another episode of Hire and Empower, and I'm excited to be doing a little riff here. And in usual fashion, I don't pull my topics in my podcast out of thin air, and I absolutely do not pick topics that'll make me look great. These are real conversations that I'm having every day within our law firm administrative assistant boot camp that I'm having on our 66-day law firm turnaround one-on-one private client calls, and through either recruiting and or onboarding. So we talk to candidates all day long. I have 5 full-time recruiters that are consistently recruiting. We meet every day, do a daily huddle, and I'm tenacious about saying, what's the word on the street? Tell me the words that candidates are saying. Why are they talking to a recruiter today? Why are they looking for another opportunity? What's making them respond to your email or your text or your phone call that asks them, hey, are you happy? Are you being treated well? And are you being valued? Are you making the money you're worth, that you know you're worth? All these questions, these powerful questions that we ask. Today's podcast is coming straight off, hot off the presses of my week of coaching this week. Just spent about 5 hours with our law firm admin boot camp this week between having our mindset coach that came in. We had a call today. It was phenomenal on finding your voice and speaking your truth, which is what I hear from business owners, CEOs, and law firm attorneys telling me all the time, I can't get my people to talk. They're not telling me, I don't know what they're thinking. And I want to hear their insight. I want to hear their feedback. I need them to be more aggressive. I want you have permission. You have full permission for this, and we can't get people talk. And it's interesting because the number one thing that we hear all the time is, I'm afraid I'm going to get fired. My attorney has a super big presence. They're in a courtroom all day. I'm not going up against that. That's why we're the best at what we do. You think that I'm going to go and tell my attorney they're the biggest bottleneck in the business, or I need them to start doing X, Y, and Z, or stop doing X, Y, and Z? No way, Jose. And on a conversation that I had this week, this conversation early in the week came up about stress. And typically that is intertwined with busy. We're so busy, we're so busy, we're so busy. And I had a firm, new employee we were onboarding this week, and she kept talking about, I know everybody's so busy. And I said to her, listen, Lisa, if we are ever not busy anymore, we're out of business. Everybody better be busy. So busy, in the other statement she said after that, is everybody's so stressed out. I know that everybody's stressed. I know that everybody's busy. I know that everybody's stressed. I hear this over and over and over again. And that is a behavior. The truth is we are in business. The truth is we are successful. The truth is we have a full calendar. The truth is we have an sometimes overly full calendar, overly full caseload. We are not busy and we are not stressed. If we are busy and we are stressed, we need to do an old-fashioned stop, drop, and roll and check in on that. So today I really want to talk about stress versus strategy. On an onboarding call this week, the attorney, God, I love this firm so much. We're at the 90-day mark for this employee, and we were checking, and we had a lot of turnover. New, healthy, empowered, impactful, ass kicking case manager comes in. And what happens when you start really hiring right? Well, the flashlight and the pinks are flashlights on all the people that aren't performing. And then they're either self-selecting out or the pink slips are being handed out. They realize can't cut it anymore. They can't hide out anymore, what have you. So it's just part of business. It's part of growth. It happens. And so this did happen. One employee in particular, and for whatever reason, it's the longest standing employees sometimes. And then the entrepreneur is like, well, they're my first employee. They came with me with their goldfish and I can't get rid of them. They were so loyal to me, what have you. And the employee knows that you're saying that. So like the rules apply to everybody but me. And so we had this conversation like, okay, listen here, Susie Q, you were hired to be this case manager and you haven't really fully gotten into your position since you're hired because this person blew up and we had to let her go. And then she created all this kind of toxic, and then her best buddy who sat in the cubicle next door left with her and what have you. So we've had some turnover and you're not doing what you were hired to do. Now you're going to have to pitch in for their jobs and in addition, support me and my team with finding you 2 new paralegals. And so it's interesting because the attorney's so conscious and so aware and just such a rock star leader. And he said, listen, here's the deal. And we made it through. We have the 2 other paralegals hired. They're rock stars because they were hired right. And we have this conversation. He says to her, my only thing is, and she's like, yeah, it's part of business. Like it's bound to happen. I'm not a rookie at this stuff. It happens, what have you. We made it through. And I'm going to onboard these 2 new employees. I'm going to really get to my job. And now we're going to be kicking ass all over the place and having fun. And the attorney was super grateful for that statement. And he says, my only wish, we're finalizing 90-day goals, 120-day goals. My only wish is that when you go home at night, that I don't want you to get to a place where you're burned out. You're telling your husband how stressed out you are. And, he goes, I get it. My wife comes home. I'm like, just quit that job then. He's like, I get it. And I don't want you to burn out. I don't want you to be so stressed out. And I don't want you to leave because you are exactly what I've been looking for ever. I'm like, oh my God, that's so amazing. And she said, and I love his story because it really, really articulates it. She says, I'm not stressed out. She goes, like even this morning, I'm in the shower and I start thinking about our phone system. Mind you, she's a case manager. Like it's not her job to worry about this phone system or what have you, quote unquote, in her job description, but she gets into the juicy details of the story. I'm in the shower this morning and I'm thinking about our phone system. And then she goes on and she's talking about, I think we need to revise the way that the call tree is working on. And then I started thinking about our intake process. And then she's going into great detail. I'm just sitting here like goosebump from head to toe. I'm like, listen, Susie Q, this is not stress. This is strategy. There's a big difference. We all know what stress feels like. We can feel it in your body. In a phenomenal book, one of my favorite books that I read over and over again, especially when I am feeling real, true stress, is The Body Keeps Score. And Google it. I highly recommend it. I mean, we all know what real stress feels like. You feel it in your body. It's crippling. It just short circuits your adrenals. It absolutely fries your lymphatic system. I mean, there's no denying what real stress is and feels like and looks like. You know it. I was on a call today with a new employee and the attorney absolutely threw an unacceptable bomb in the firm this morning, in the middle of the night, and they all walked into this. And I can see the second this new employee gets into the Zoom room, it looks like trauma on steroids. She didn't even have to say a word. And I knew it right away. And so when we have this conversation about stress in the workplace, it absolutely, from my perspective. So this one, 2 people left. I just got hired, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, that isn't stress. This is how we dealt with it. Again, strategy. She's in the shower on the back end of finally triaging 2 employees, picking up their workload, helping with the hiring. Now she's got to onboard them, and she hasn't even started the job she got hired for. And she's strategizing about the phone system. It's because of the environment this law firm created. Crap happens. And I mean, they are in high voltage law. I mean, high voltage, dealing with hospitals. And I mean, it's crazy what their stress area of law, but they're not stressed out as an organization, as a culture, as the energy within the building. And it's interesting because then now here come the 2 new paralegals. They're onboarded. I've done both of their kickoff calls, setting their 30-day goals. But my question I always ask at the end of our goal setting calls to the new employee, are you happy? Are you having fun? Both of the brand new employees said, I've never worked in a law firm like this. Yes, I'm not. I check in. Are you overwhelmed? Just always consistently doing the scorecard with them. And any of you know, I'm always like on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, it's funny because my kids will say on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely am I getting $100? Like stress and strategy are very different. There are stressful times, yes, when real stuff happens within the business, with our clients, with our employees, all that. You all know, you all have had employees that have died. You've had employees that have committed suicide. You've had clients that have died. I know all your stories. Those are stress. Yes, real stressors, but it's when we all come together as a team and pick up the caseload, pick up the work, hold each other, have each other's backs, and be able to rise above. So if you're in this place and you're consistently, and you can't unhear this anymore, if you're consistently hearing and seeing and feeling things like stress and busy and overwhelm, it is time for strategy. And when you're an employee, and you really, truly, as an employer, it's your responsibility, it's your duty. It's like one of the top 5 bullet points in your job description to manage the experience of your employees as much as you do with your clients. In fact, I say with your employees first over your clients. But, when she's sharing this story, I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. You've effectively stepped into a place of entrepreneurship. You're never going to stop thinking about work, thinking about your future. You're future pulling here. You in the shower, wondering and thinking about strategizing about the phone system, about our intake process, or what have you. That's never going to stop. And the day it stops, then you know that you're working in a place that is not on a path of growth. They're not in a business that is investing in personal and professional development. And so for me, I'm always walking around. I love sticky notes. I have sticky notes next to my shower. I have sticky notes next to my bed. I have sticky notes in my car. I have sticky notes in my yoga mat. I have sticky notes everywhere. On my walk, when I'm walking, I'm texting myself notes and ideas and what have you, because my experience in the shower, on my yoga mat, on my morning walks, those of you that know, I am a huge fan of the 5 a.m. club. That's where I solve all the world's problems. And you need a place to dump them, to document them, because that's fuel, that's your energy for your next right move to keep going and to know you're in the right place. So there's a very big difference between an organization where you do go through the same, put two law firms side by side, hire someone, two paralegals, quit on the spot, cause a tremendous amount of unnecessary, very, very traumatic and just violent drama. And then another firm that goes through the same thing and they let it take them down. And they keep telling the story and passing the baton through the office. We're stressed and busy. We're stressed and busy. We're stressed and busy. And it spreads like a cancer. It's infectious versus moving to a place of strategy. And when you are checking in with your employees and they share stories like the shower, where you're revamping the entire intake process, you're like, this is awesome. I mean, nothing, this drives you to tears as a business owner and you want to embrace it. You're like, I'm doing a great job as a leader. My people are in the shower rethinking our phone system and how we do intake. That's awesome. That's strategy. That is when you know you are running a firm based on a strategic model. Yes, we have stressful times. It's an exception, not a norm. Sometimes it is a norm, but it's how we respond to it versus react to it. It's our language that we allow to go through the office. It's how we interact with it that makes it stressful versus just it's a stress point. And there's a difference. So check in with yourselves. Where are you all as a firm, as a business? How is the energy? Are we one of constantly busy and stressed? Is this language that we actually use? When you walk into your office or interact with your team or your boss, or if you're an employee, what have you, and you hear this language, stop it. Be the truth teller, be the trailblazer, be the leader. I just said this when we created our ground rules and rules of engagement in the law firm admin boot camp last week, and we're building on them. One thing I said, I'm going to challenge you all right now to completely eradicate from your language. Nobody is ever allowed to say that we're busy or somebody is too busy or I don't want to interrupt them because I know how stressed they are. Just take it out of your language, your vocabulary. You'll see such a massive difference. So if you need help with your team, if you have a team that you know could benefit, give them to me and let me coach them up. Let me train them on how to manage up and delegate down, to eradicate their language, to start speaking like a strategist versus a stressor, and learning how to lead the team because they want to. We just finished our mindset coaching program today. And like I said, it was on finding your voice and speaking your truth. And the whole chat room is blowing up in the Zoom room as my personal coach, Paula, led it. And she's teaching every month on mindset, and she's coaching the team on that, on finding their voice. And it's just amazing how many people, why they're not using their voice is they're afraid the emotions are going to come up and they're going to cry when they share with the attorney what they have ideas on what's not working within the business. All of them, I asked every one of them, do you all have a proposed solution? Oh, hell yes, we do. Not only that, we got a whole roadmap written out about what to do to fix it. I'm not saying anything. I've seen him or her in court. I've seen how him or her behaved the last time somebody else said something, or at least I heard the stories at the water cooler or the coffee machine about when Paul said blah, 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 and Paul's no longer here. They're afraid they're going to lose their jobs. And it's amazing to me because on the flip side, my phone's blowing up from my attorney buddies saying to me, you get my people to talk? Like they're on the front lines. I want them to take ownership. I want them to care. I want to hear what they have to say, and they won't talk. I want you to be more aggressive. I want you to know you have full permission, and I want you to own your job, own your role. And in fact, give us ideas about a job you're not even doing that you're seeing from your perspective in your seat. So I want your team, guys. I want to transform them. I am on an unapologetic, unwavering mission to transform the employee-employer relationship. It ain't getting any easier out there. You've seen all this statistics. Baby boomers retired in droves. People never in the history of time, well, in 2008, but I think 2020 trumped it, did people start the highest number of entrepreneurship ever. My business was shut down. Our law firm was shut down, what have you. So I went home, and in my spare time, I started walking my neighbor's dog. Next thing you know, I'm making $1 million a year being a dog walker. So am I going to go to this law office and get my ass kicked every day? No, thanks. Like, give me your team. Give me your team. They care. They have a lot to say, and let me get them start talking in a strategic versus stressful way. All right. You know where to find me. Until then, continue being stress less and strategic leaders leading leaders. And that goes for you too, employees. We've reached the end of another impactful conversation on the Hire and Empower podcast. Whether this was your first episode or you're a longtime listener, I know you can tell I have passion for people. Whether you're a business owner, employee, executive, or hiring manager, I understand the situation you're in. Hiring, onboarding, and leadership is expensive, exhausting, overwhelming, and if that's not enough, it's also time-consuming. My friends, it doesn't have to be this way. There is a team at H&E that has your back. For over 25 years, they've transformed over 4,000 law firms into efficient, effective, profitable assets for their business and made it fun to come to work again. Check out our Smart Hire solution, our employee leadership program, and the 66-day law firm turnaround at hiringandempowering.com.